my program is keyword analyzing everything, searching for patterns in what was going on. So the Elenin information included Elenin backwards is 9/11. So I just finished that, and so that piqued my interest right away. And then the perihelion date, the date that this comet was going to be nearest the sun at perihelion position, was on 9/11/2011, exactly 10 years to the day after the 9/11 attacks. So that drew me in too. Then we had enough data to make the prediction about Fukushima within 4 days, with just 2 months of research. And then we predicted the Guerrero event from the next year within 2 days. Then we had the magnetopause reversal event from March 12, 2012. I'll show you a little bit about that here in a minute. The mystery Martian dust storm of the same day. And we realized that Ellen was just a psyop. We used very important document was the Amr Basic paper that came out April 11, 2011. And that connected a seismic pattern to Elenin that went back to 1965. Then we realized after Elenin passed through that our seismic pattern continued. We have been working with the 188-day cycle ever since. We've since developed the binary star magnetic repulsion modeling, the magnetic North Pole migration modeling. So we have multiple models running that are giving us information, allowing me to do threat assessment and contingency planning information for survival groups around the world. And we know where the black star is. We know it's in the Libra constellation. We've tracked it through Leo. We've tracked it through Virgo. And now it's in the Libra constellation. And we passed behind the sun relative to the black star here on November the 14th with the 7.8 New Zealand quake. And we identified the deep magma plume formations in the Pacific Ocean Ring of Fire and the associated seismic activity, the aftershocks that you're seeing that taking place now, and that kind of stuff. So it's a comprehensive science-based investigation supported by scripture. The Isaiah and the earth's going to stumble like a drunkard, and the sun's going to turn dark. It's going to turn black as sackcloth. The moon's not going to give forth its light. Those are what happened during a fall time crossing event. This time we're going to have a springtime crossing event. We can get into that too if you want to. So it's a comprehensive investigation. It ties in a lot of different facets of the science, geology, astronomy, the geopolitical environment, and helps us to run what I think is the best Planet X / Nibiru type of investigation that anyone can get on the internet.
Yeah, like I said, I've been watching your material for quite some time now, and over the years, I've kind of lost. Well, going back probably about 10 years, kind of lost touch with a lot of the information. But as I've been retired now for a couple of years, I started hearing more and more and more about the whole Planet X situation, and really not able to find a lot of credible information. And then, I came across you and a couple of others, and then I picked it right back up, and I started to delve into all different areas, just basically like a sponge, trying to get as much information as I can. And when I first came across your YouTube channel, the BLACKSTAR project was completely new to me. And when I started listening to what you had to say and your presentations, I started thinking, okay, this man is definitely on something, onto something. He's not your general everyday run-of-the-mill YouTuber. This guy's very smart. So I started listening to you every single video that you put out, and the information is just, it was overwhelming. And I absorbed things very, very well. And, the whole conspiracy factor behind all of this is what really bugs me, that, no agency, no government is really going to come out and say, this is what we have. This is the information that we have, and this is what's going to happen. So we're giving you forewarning. It's time for preparation. Well, I don't think we're going to hear any of that anytime soon. So I started gathering my information the best that I could, And like I said, whenever I came across your information, I was overwhelmed. So if you want to give everybody a rundown on where you're at in your research, that'd be
Okay.
fantastic. You can share your screen and the stage is yours.
Okay, let's see. This is my first time with this format, and I'm looking for the share screen thingy. And that is over here. Share. Okay, first let's do a little bit of background on what I'll just to get this off the screen, I'll pull up the recent newsletter right here. Oh, actually, we'll go ahead and pull this one up. Let's give a little bit of background on the conspiracy aspect that you were talking about. You're going to learn a lot about that when you read my book, The 9/11 Truth, Exposing the Cheney-Rumsfeld Black Operation. You're going to see how the House of Rothschild is the head of the snake, the serpent, that is beguiling the world. They own the underground Ark City program. They are the reason chemtrailing is going on. That's financed by Rothschild, Rockefeller, Gates, eugenics. So Rothschild's got his hand in the Middle East wars. They're setting up central banks, and he runs the underground Ark City. So there's a fake 9/11 movement. When you realize that there's in my book, I'm going to point to characters and call names after working with them for 5 years. There's a fake 9/11 movement, AE911truth.org, Richard Gage, Bill Donnelly, and those guys. That's a haven for operatives. And the Loose Change boys, CIT boys, I'm going to be showing you a little bit of their with the Dakota Report information. They work for the State Department. I know their handler. And situation movement. This is a fake movement. You have to realize that. There's the lettered agencies. It's not just the lettered agencies anymore. It's not the CIA. And it's CFR working groups, Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderbergs. These disinformation operations are running 24/7. They're bumping into each other like bumper cars out there. They're filling the airwaves with viral scream disinformation, desensitizing information, making it difficult for you to gather the truth about what's really happening. They dig rabbit holes everywhere. And,
so are there more? There's more than one country involved in this, then?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They know that this is coming, and some of the countries are aware. Some of the countries are not aware, and depends on if you're in the clique or not. The Rothschild clique, the bankster elite gang. Those are the ones going to the underground Ark City. If you watch the movie 2012, instead of the Ark ships, they're running to Ark cities. And the biggest Ark City in the United States, the central hub, the administrative hub of the New World Order, after the Black Star leaves, is in Denver. And the New York chapter of the Council on Foreign Relations, they moved there in 1938 to begin these operations. The CIA just moved there in 2005. Council on Foreign Relations working groups have been working there all the time. They're transforming the United States into Canamera, Mexico, is their plan under the New World Order. And it's already happening. It's happening in plain sight. Their agendas are being carried out everywhere. Worker displacement agenda through the illegal aliens and the guest worker programs, NAFTA-like treaties, and you name it. The offshoring of our jobs, things like that. This is a multifaceted operation run by the House of Rothschild, and to keep everybody off balance so that they can run to the underground Ark cities and leave everybody else to deal with the Black Star.
And you're talking about these massive underground 5-star bunkers that they've developed out there in Denver. That's
right.
One of them, though, right? The one in Denver?
Right, that's just one of them. It's a pressurized, environmentally controlled underground system. And there's people that have green cards to go there, and their families will not even know that they're going until their fail-safe plan begins. It's likely going to be 60 to 90 days before the quote-unquote event. The event is going to be a geological pole shift. That means that the Earth is going to be actually tipped over by the magnetic influence of the Black Star. So the way that works is the sun is in magnetic polarity control of our planet. Keeps it going up and down, tipping back and forth 23.5 degrees. When the Black Star gets close enough to us, it's small. It's gathering its magnetic polarity power from the sun itself. That's why the sun is going to sleep. That's why in 2011, then the X-ray flux, the radio flux values emitted from the sun were reduced by down to 1/3 of their normal levels, where they should be at that point in solar cycle 24. And that's why the severe reduction in sunspots, Then they said we had a double peak in 2015. Now they're saying we're in solar minimum. They can't make up their mind about what the sun's doing. The heliosphere surrounding it's like the magnetosphere that protects our Earth. The heliosphere that protects our solar system from the interstellar wind has shrunk 25% in just the last 10 years. And the scientists do not know why. That they're speculating about a Maunder minimum, a grand minimum, and that kind of thing. But in reality, the black star is connected to our sun through a magnetic portal connection, and it's siphoning energy from the sun and redirecting it to the other planets through a secondary set of magnetic portal connections. So that's a little bit difficult for someone that's never heard of a magnetic portal connection to understand. So go to my website, left-hand column, click on the link to the magnetic portal connections, and then you'll down the description box you'll get lots of NASA information on how the Earth is connected to the sun, for example, how the magnetic portal connection connects and disconnects and reconnects on 8-minute cycles, and that's the energy that powers our magnetosphere. And so as the sun gets weaker, the magnetosphere gets weaker. The magnetosphere is currently getting weaker, 50 times more rapid than the scientists had originally thought. Those are if you keyword those, what I'm saying, you can find those articles. And,
so this would be the theory that all of the inner solar system, the planets are heating up, and this is the reason?
That's right. They're heating up at the same time the sun is going to sleep, because there's this is the invisible collapsed binary twin to our sun that now has a planetary relationship with our sun and comes to the inner solar system every 3,600 years or so. It came in the days of Noah, and it came in the days of Moses. But it gives us a different result depending on where Earth is whenever it crosses Earth orbit path. Okay, so we've tracked this thing through Leo, through Virgo, and into the Leo constellation using the Earth changes, the seismic pattern, the 188-day cycle. We're also using a magnetic North Pole migration model. So I kind of lost track of what I was going to share with you here. The black star coming across, oh yeah, I remember. It's going to come across like this, and then it's going to cross Earth orbit path. That's what Nibiru means, is the planet of crossing. And the crossing in that phrase is a reference to crossing Earth orbit path here until it reaches perihelion very near Venus orbit path. Well, Venus orbit path being here, Earth being here. Okay, so there's two opportunities to interact with this black star, and it'd be close enough to Earth to cause our planet to actually tip over from the magnetic influence. See, the thing is, metals that are inside of Earth crust, magnetite, iron, these, whenever they're influenced by the magnetism of the black star, then it's going to tip our planet over because the metals in Earth crust are going to obey the laws of magnetism. It's going to be close enough to us to have enough energy based upon the magnetic polarity strength ratios. So the sun, extremely powerful magnetic source, and it's in control of our planet. The black star, if it's on the other side of the sun, cannot affect us. So that's the situation that we have now. We're on the back, we pass behind the sun relative to it. Now we're going to this 90-degree angle position. But when we're around here and it comes across Earth orbit path, it's right next to us. That's the reason that it can cause a geological pole shift, because even though it's smaller than the sun, it can wrestle magnetic polarity control of our planet from the sun if it's close enough. So there's a range of scenarios that take place that tip us over. See, if this thing comes in and it passes just in front of us, the Earth will tip backwards. If it passes under us, we could be turned over like a cork. If it passes behind us, we'll tip forwards. And as it comes on by, the Earth is going to continue rotating, but the North Pole is going to be pointing away from the black star. So it could cause the Earth to actually turn in a funny way and stagger like a drunkard, just like Isaiah says. So the thing is that there's no sign with the sun at a springtime crossing event. See, it's just crossing Earth orbit path on the way in. It's going to reach perihelion afterwards. It's going to turn the sun completely dark. You notice how the coronal holes are getting bigger and bigger on the sun?
Yeah,
when the black star gets here, the sun is going to be totally black, and the moon's not going to give forth its light. That's what Christ says in Matthew 24, start at verse 29. He's quoting Joel 2. Okay, so the thing is, when the Earth comes on around this way, See, this thing comes in and crosses Earth orbit path, but then it crosses it again on the way out. What Christ and Joel, the prophets, can see is what happens at the end of the age at this crossing event in the fall time, after perihelion, after the black star reaches perihelion. We have all of their testimony about what happens. But this coming comes like a thief in the night. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. This coming comes like a thief in the night, and destruction is going to come suddenly, like the birth pangs upon a woman with child, because we can't see the black star. Because of microlensing, it is super cold and is super small. It's only 2 to 3 kilometers in diameter. But its energy is being siphoned from the sun. So what you have is gravitational forces between the sun and the black star are increasing by the square of the closing distance, right? According to the laws of gravity. The thing is that the magnetic polarity strength and the magnetic repulsion strength, the sun and the black star have mismatched polarity. So as the black star is coming in, the magnetic repulsion force is growing by greater than the cube of the closing distance. The reason is because we're not dealing with static magnets like you have here on the Earth. One magnet has a certain power, the other magnet has a certain power. That doesn't work in this scenario because the black star is siphoning energy from the sun. It's becoming more powerful as the sun is becoming weaker. So the magnetic polarity strength and the magnetic repulsion strength is growing by more than the cube of the closing distance. What that means is the black star is coming in and it's transitioning its orbit path from a long elliptical orbit to something circular. It's going to have a circular orbit as it's coming around Venus orbit path and then be repelled by the binary star magnetic repulsion force. It's going to be repelled actually by the magnetism more than the slingshot effect. It's going to be going slow around the sun. This is a really strange anomalous object. In its aphelion position on the far end of its orbit out near Orion is going to be not as far away as most people think, because they're thinking using traditional scientific modeling for comets, asteroids, planets that behave the same way because they're obeying the laws of gravity. They do not have this magnetic repulsion relationship with the sun, not being stars, you see. So this binary star, the Planet X movement is fake to the core because we're not even dealing with a planet. We're dealing with a star. People need to realize that. It's just part of the name of the movement itself is a misnomer to what's really happening here. This is a star that is coming in. And the thing to realize with the days of Noah and Moses is that when this thing crosses Earth orbit path, Earth has 365 different places to be in our solar system. So just imagine this is a giant roulette wheel. And each of these pegs for each day, this is a 1.6 million mile segment all the way around. So when the Earth is over in springtime position and it gets here, we have a geological pole shift. Also in the fall. But if the Earth is around here in winter orbit, when it crosses Earth orbit path, it's on the summer side of the solar system. We're in the winter side, and we never have a pole shift. That's why there's not one every 3,600 years, you see. So there's a different scenario for our planet depending on where Earth is. And so it caused the flood in Noah's days. It caused the earth changes with Moses. And in Matthew 24, Christ is talking about what happens at the end of the age. These are all scenarios that are associated with this black star, but the black star is in a, the Earth is, I'm sorry, is in a different position when the black star crosses Earth orbit path, giving us a different outcome for each time. So gathering all the data from all the scriptures and all the science, looking not that closely, but looking at Sitchin and the Sumerian tablets and things. They've got a Nibiru that came with the Anunnaki, you know, and all that stuff, and which could coincide with Genesis 6 and the sons of God there, the Nephilim and stuff. But without getting into all that and convoluting the discussion, there's a lot of what Sitchin says and a lot of what Robert Harrington tried to contribute to the Planet X movement is just nonsensical, basically. And I would say the same about Gil Broussard's work. I've tried to engage him, send him lots of information. Marshall Masters' work. My first radio show was actually with Marshall Masters as a member of his Comet Ellen and Planet X Town Hall deal. And they recognize, like you, they recognize I'm a good researcher, real smart, got good data. They want to have me on part of their team. You know, it was real cool. Until Minster Armor Bosich came into the picture, and Marshall Masters started strong-arming him, and I made waves about it, and then I got booted out of that deal. But anyway, I've tried to share information with them They don't want to hear about magnetopause reversals, about magnetic pole migration. They don't want to discuss the science at all. They want to keep making their little videos, selling their keychains. This is the fake 9/11 Nibiru movement in my mind. And Gilbert Sard has people looking for a planet that is 7 times bigger than Earth. We have a project astronomer, Don. He's been an astronomer his whole life. He has an observatory. His observatory class telescope. He has infrared equipment. He can see Pluto. Easy. If there was a planet coming 7 times the size of Earth, he would have seen that a long time ago. He's been on this project with me for years. We know where it is. We know that he cannot make observations because of the characteristics and features and behavior of this black star that behaves more like a black hole than any known celestial object. It's causing it to move in our inner solar system more like an amoeba. And if you look at the modeling of black holes, then you'll see that that's the way they behave. That the objects that are inside the event horizon are trapped, but objects on the outside, they just kind of wobble a little as the thing moves by, and then they wobble back into place. They're not affected very much because they're outside that event horizon. That's so that's pretty much the rundown on the geological pole shift that we're expecting. The inferior model is the magnetic North Pole migration model. It shows a 12-day differential. I can show that to you in this newsletter right here. And this is covered every week. Let's look at this recent newsletter right here. So we follow the seismic values for each week, for each category. We know when we're going to have the lowest values at 90-degree angle position. See that sub 20 value for the 5, sub 200 value. We know when we're going to have the highest activity. See all that activity? It's because we're between the 2 stars. We predict this way in advance. Then we know there's a lull period coming. See the L's in the chart? Then we get to that 90-degree position and look again. See the zeros? 2 sub 20 values together for the 5s. We usually have sub 200s here. It's a little bit different now with that magma plume formation that I'll show you about. More and more red values are showing up in the chart. So what I wanted to show you was the magnetic pole migration model. This is for the last 4 years of where our magnetic North Pole has been migrating. And if you've been following my reports for the last 6 months, you know that there's a 12-day differential between, we're trailing last year's position by, if you draw a line from the center, see that 8.2, you get the 8.2 behind it, you have a 12-day differential. It's been, sometimes it would move a little ahead, sometimes just a little behind, but the 12-day average is what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing right now. When you draw this line up to the 20th, 12/20, and this one to 12/20, you're going to find out that there's a 12-day differential there. And this is a warning sign to me, because what it's indicating to me is that that this is not caused by the shifting of Earth metals, according to the traditional the geological modeling. This is caused by the influence of another magnet in our inner solar system, and it's moving left in the orbit diagram an average of 12 degrees for the last decade, going all the way back to December 25th, 2004 with the 9.3 Sumatra quake. Earth passed between this star and the sun on that date. And that's a very key date that I just gave to you right there when that Sumatra quake happened. Another one is the Chile quake, February 27th, 2010. These are 2 of the top 5. And Fukushima is the same way. Most powerful earthquakes in recorded history. Then Fukushima happens the next year on the 188-day cycle, and 12 days later. This is a 12 days later each calendar year, because the black star is moving left in the orbit diagram by an average of 12 degrees. There's 360 degrees in a circle, 365 days in a year. That's where that 12 comes from. So this 12-day differential in this magnetic pole migration chart says, in comparison, relative to the binary star magnetic repulsion modeling, that there's a 10% chance that we're going to see a geological pole shift on May the 20th, 2017. This is the inferior model. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. It means there's a 10% chance that it's going to happen, right? But if you run military operations and you do threat assessment contingency planning, you know 10% is the threshold. When you get above 10%, then you have to start making contingencies, and that's what I'm doing with the survival groups. That we have survival groups in the Ozarks. We have a Canadian group that looks like now they're going to join us in the Ozarks, New Zealand group, European group, Australian group. And these are the way that we form these groups is because they go to my website, TERRAL03.com, and then I can show you that right here if I can get this baby to work. I can show you my website. Didn't pull that up ahead of time. It's that simple, TERRAL03.com. And this is TERRAL03.com. Down here is the scripture section. How the mystery diagrams. There's 80 diagrams in my book showing you how God's mystery, God's wisdom is hidden right in plain sight when you see the three witnesses of spirit, blood, and water. Then here's the 9/11 section. 6 videos in each section. And a book at the bottom. Instead, this book can't be written yet. We haven't concluded the investigation. But this is where the newsletter campaign comes in. You hit this button right here. You get all of 2016 and 2017 newsletters. And there's links here to the previous year's newsletters. So there is a way to get all the newsletters for free. In my description box, you can get the weekly update report with the new free link. This is the button you click for. It's only $25 per year. If you want me to be your threat assessment analyst, contingency planner, help you to connect with survival groups, you want to send me questions that are answered, then, for example, in this newsletter right here from last week, let's see if we got questions. The one I'm working on right now has several questions from people. This is about the superwave hoax, this galactic superwave hoax. That is a big time hoax. And then David sent in this. I'm not seeing the. We have a lot of questions in this week's newsletter. Yeah, here it is. Here, I mean, here's a good example. Then Bonnie has a question about the 9-degree alignment in February 27th. So she writes it in, I answer it, and then your questions and my answers go into the weekly newsletters, helping people that might have, you know, similar questions. Here's a picture of that growing coronal hole that's going to cover the sun when the black star gets here. That's some of the features that you get with subscribing to my newsletters. You get a BLACKSTAR update report every week. Comes out on Thursday evening. And the seismic chart grows 1 line every week. And then so you get my analysis. You get a year over year. This is what happened 2 years ago. This is what happened. You see we had a 7 magnitude earthquake in week 45 for the last 3 years in a row. But you notice that they're not the same calendar. It's not the same day in the calendar because the new orbit cycle begins just about 2 weeks later each year. So we track this earthquake activity based on the weeks for the last 6 years. We know what's going to happen in week 13, for example. We know what's going to happen around week 30 when we get to outside orbit position, week 44. And then red letters show up whenever we see something that's really, really odd. Like we had this 8.3 chili quake here in week 34 last year. We had 12. It's a high number for the last 6 years, by the way. 12 6 magnitude earthquakes. 6 the next week, but then this has never happened before. Hasn't happened since. No 6 magnitude earthquakes on the entire planet for 5 weeks in a row. That earns all these guys a red value. It's not, just look at the chart. You don't see that ever happening before. You don't see it happening afterwards. And we've been doing this for the last 6 years. So anyway, this is the type of information that you get. And whenever you, everything's free. We want everything to be free. We want you to have the information. So whenever you want to email me, be able to email me every day, you want to take my time, then it's only $25 per year. And then you'll get your threat assessment information when you make the request. And then you give me permission to share your contact information, and I'll share it with the Ozarks group. Has 200 families in it. We have Dr. Laura's running the medical staff. And then Robert's running the security operations team. Chris is running the prepper groups, all the prepper members, keeping them motivated. And we're getting ready to buy, it looks like, we're looking at a leasing program in the Big Show Cavern, and then we're going to buy some property there in the Ozarks, create a staging area right around our cavern, and give people the opportunity to set up travel trailers there and things like that. So it's a comprehensive program. It's pretty exciting, and a lot of the people are looking at May, we have to prepare for May 20th, 2017, just in case. Even though it's only a 10% chance, we have to do that. And then when we breeze by that window, which I'm hoping that we will, then we'll have a whole year to prepare for the next possible crossing event in May of 2018. Go
So
ahead.
we're gonna reach a critical point this fall, or excuse me, this spring.
Absolutely. And you're going to see it whenever we get into April. Seismicity is going to be off the charts. And then new volcanism, new volcanic eruptions, they range from 1 or 2 at outside orbit position at that 90-degree angle point to an average of 8 whenever we are between the two stars. The month of April 2016, we had 7 the first week, then we had 9, then we had 8, then we had 9 again. And that's because we passed between 2 stars. That magnetic portal connection that I told you about, you can tell, I can show you right here. Let me see where we are. There's Cancer, Libra. I can't see my thing because of this thingy here. Okay, so the black stars in Libra, look at the date, April 3rd. So as we're coming on around the magnetic portal connection, the black star is right here. The magnetic portal connection between the black star and the Earth is at its shortest point whenever we are between them. So, and also the thing to remember is we're pulling the magnetic portal connection from the black star to the Earth and from the sun to the Earth through the primary star to star magnetic portal connection. That's what causes magnetic portal connection convergence. And then the portal to portal cross firing, the big giant sprite formation, it's like lightning bolts that shoot between these magnetic portal connections. That creates highly charged ionic clouds. The clouds are given directionality between the converging portals, and that's what caused magnetopause reversal events. That's what caused the mystery Martian dust storm of March 12, 2012. And again, on another magnetopause reversal that we predicted, April the 23rd, 2016, to happen just this year, from the same phenomenon. And Mars was in the same place. They're supposed to have the dust storms kick off later in the summer, which is normal for Mars, but they kicked off way early because of magnetic, this phenomenon that I'm talking about right here. The same thing that turned Earth. I've got the window pulled up here, I believe, because I wanted to show you the magnetopause reversal event. And I'd be darned if I can find it. Here we go, right here. Look at the date, 3/12/2012. This is the bow shock. This is the sun over here where my cursor is. And look how well defined the bow shock is on the nighttime side of our planet. And look for how long that it's going to go into the 13th. This is caused by a subatomic particle flow coming from beyond the Mars and beyond out there where the black star is in the Leo constellation. So at this date, this time, this is 8 days before the Guerrero event that we predicted within 2 days. And it was caused by magnetic portal connection. You can see the directionality even with the bow shock turned at a little bit of an angle. It's telling us where the black star is out there because the subatomic particles are not coming, they're not being released directly by the black star. They're coming from the converging magnetic portal connections that are coming together, and given that those highly charged ionic clouds direction out.
So whenever you say it's making a connection, it's actually really making a connection.
Absolutely. It's a magnetic portal connection. If you understand, go to my website or just Google it, but go to my website, watch the 15-minute video, go through the NASA links, and you'll understand more. They're not going to give you the advanced magnetic portal connection convergence scenarios and things like that. Those only came from my research after a lot of observation of what's happening here, connecting of a lot of the dots together. But this phenomenon, notice the date on this, when this mystery Martian dust storm started. Look at it. The first plume appeared on March the 12th, 2012 as a small bump on the dawn side of Mars' southern hemisphere. See the black stars in the southern hemisphere, just below the ecliptic plane. So this dust storm started, and it says on the dawn side, what it's saying is on the nighttime side. So this wave could not have originated from the sun, which was the leading hypothesis on what starts these storms in the first place. This came from the nighttime side because it's part of the same phenomenon. That's what I just showed you with the magnetopause reversal on the same day, March 12, 2012. So that's this is just another aspect of the research where we're connecting more dots, and people like Broussard and people like Marshall Masters, Dr. Rand, try to bring up a few others. They don't want to talk about any of this stuff. They do not want to have to explain subatomic particle flows coming from the wrong side of our planet that have the intensity to turn the solar wind around at just 1 astronomical unit from the sun, because they know, like I know, that can only come from another star. It cannot come from Jupiter, cannot come from Mars, cannot come from another planet, cannot come from a gamma ray burst beyond the pressure shock of our heliosphere. It would not have enough strength to be able to fight the solar wind for 100 astronomical units and still have the intensity to turn Earth magnetosphere around for 28 hours. That's impossible. The only way that's possible is if we have a source of subatomic particles directly next to our planet. That's the only way. And they don't want you to know about this. This data that I just showed you was gathered once NASA tried to scrub the servers. We got hold of the data, they took the information down, and it was put back together by, I believe, Suspicious Observers or BP Earthwatch or somebody that helped us to put this information back together. This phenomenon happens every year. It happened again in April 23rd, 2016, but they turned the servers off after 2 hours. So that they were calling it a magnetopause collapse when it was really a reversal. So NASA's doing a better job of sanitizing the information to keep it out of our hands. But just from what I've got right here, you can see that there's a pattern, and that there is definitely something out there. There's definitely something out there. We've been tracking it, and our survival groups are preparing for it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to just touch with the whole cosmic wave that we've been hearing about. I think this all started maybe less than 2 weeks ago. And first it was this magnetar, was it SGR 1806-20, and then it was something else, and then a gamma ray burst. And I mean, just from my knowledge, I mean, a gamma ray burst, there would be no time to warn anybody.
That's right.
of this coming in. And I mean, that would be hell on wheels for the Earth, at least a large section of the Earth, and then it would just basically travel right around. The radiation would travel right around the Earth, wouldn't it? I mean, would be.
There's a lot of facets. There's a lot of facets of this. They would know about it when it passed through. Earth is hit by a gamma ray burst every 24 to 30 hours, every day of the year. We get hit by them. The next one may hit us from within the Milky Way galaxy in 1 million years, but there are so many galaxies that a star exploded, and we're talking about a star that exploded a long time ago, but the wave is just getting here. But NASA's going to know about it when their sensors pick it up. They're not going to know. They can't see this thing coming. So you're smart. You got that part of it figured out right there. So you have two types of gamma ray bursts. You have short duration, long duration. The short duration ones last under 2 seconds. Of the long duration burst, the average lasts between 20 and 40 seconds. Nothing like 28 hours that we just saw that turned Earth magnetosphere around. So we're hit by that stuff all the time. The thing to realize is that the energy from these gamma ray bursts have to pass through the interstellar medium, the interstellar wind of our Milky Way galaxy. All these stars are creating wind. It's coming to us through because of our movement in the solar system, in the Sagittarian arm. Then the way that we're turning around, then the interstellar wind enters our solar system through the constellation Ophiuchus. That's what creates the helium focusing cone. It's a naturally forming thing. This guy right here, this guy makes me laugh so hard. The Higher Truth Channel guy. He's got all these subs. It's 42,000 dupes, because this is a normal phenomenon. Here's my sorry to burst any bubbles, but the helium focusing cone is a normal formation. That's normal. I give them the documents right here. Everybody knows about it. Earth passes through it. We enter it every year, December 5th or 6th, depending on how the interstellar wind is blowing. Yeah, then we pass out of it. It's no big deal. Now that's on the helium focusing cone. You're talking about the galactic wave that's supposedly coming off the galactic center of our Milky Way galaxy. They're going to know about it, like you said, whenever it gets here. And here's the deal: the scientists that are working for Rothschild, these are NASA people, JPL, all these guys, they've got to come up with a cover story to explain the effects the black star is having on our planet. So with this magma plume formation, we haven't talked about that yet, the inside of the Earth is creating these harmonic tremors because of the waves that are passing back and forth from the terminal ends to the origination zone back in Indonesia that I was explaining to you. If you want, we can go through that. But we contain within these buoyancy barriers, are these waves that are moving back and forth, and they are creating this resonant frequency and changing the harmonics of our planet. And so scientists come up with this story about the photon belt that's just going to sit out there and hover and things like that. They're going to interact with the interstellar medium. They're going to interact with the solar wind. But anyway, they're coming up with these side stories to be able to try to explain what's going on. They're hearing something. The sound is getting larger and larger, and they can't explain it. So they're explaining it through, it's a cosmic wave that's coming. That's the cover story that you're seeing there. And it's being sold to, I don't want to be mean to anybody, but they're selling to a bunch of dupes that are not doing the research.
Well, I got sold on it. You know, as soon as I heard the information, you know, I was like, okay, is this going to be, you know, just a cover for what is actually inbound? I mean, it's just like a press release. You know, they have to have some type of story to tell everybody.
Right. Well, it's what they're doing is they're manipulating a false narrative. That's what the lettered agencies do. These disinformation groups, and they run it, they hype it. The round Earth stuff that you're hearing is a disinformation program to sucker dupes. They want to know how many dupes are in their environment that they can impress with this information to make them believe that the world is flat. That's going to be a good way. I mean, that's craziness. It's crazy. Yeah. Christopher Columbus figured that part out in 1492. We have 24 time zones. You can use, the way they figured this out in 3 BC was using sticks. A guy around the equator put a stick up on the same day and he measured the shadow. A guy that was further north did it too, and a guy further north of him did it too. They came together later and put their results together, and they all had different lengths. And it told them how the curvature of the Earth was, and they were able to tell then how big the Earth was because they were mathematicians. 3 BC, and now we got people today with the internet that are being duped into believing that the Earth is flat. Same kind of people are being duped by this gamma ray, this galactic wave thing that Paul LaViolette has been rambling on about for what, the last two decades. And he came out with a series of dates recently, and none of them came true because they're not going to know. The being 100 light years across, something coming from the galactic center is going to take an extremely, extremely long time to get here, just because how big it is, how big the place is. They're not going to know until it gets here, just like you said. But they have to have that cover story thingy going. So I see through the cover story stuff. I recommend you read None Dare Call It Conspiracy by former Congressman Gary Allen. A version of it is in the Dropbox folder along with other books that I think you should read. It's very small. And in chapter 3, he's going to go through the money manipulators, Rothschild, explain about the Bilderbergs. But at the beginning of the book, he's going to explain smoke screening, how smoke screening is used by the media. And then you can begin seeing through their propaganda because they are telling us the truth if you know how to read their code. So they're forecasting what's going to happen through their false narrative agenda. Very crafty people, what they're doing. So once you see the pattern like I do, then you can see through their nonsense, and then you can you have access to the real information that's going out there. And once you can tell the false narrative information, the disinformation, desensitizing information, you can separate that out. Then what's left, you have a much smaller pile to go through to be able to run your own investigation and determine what the truth really is, what's really happening all around us. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I know, I mean, I've been at this, you know, for quite some time now. And I mean, I've literally been attacked in every single possible way. I mean, just forget about the little YouTube trolls in the comment section of any of my videos. But then they started to attack me personally, literally digging into my past. I mean, they have, I guess, a handler down in New Zealand who's basically, you know, put these people together to put this disinformation and the doubt in people's minds that are trying to gather the correct information. You know, it's real easy to make a YouTube video with no evidence, no credence, no anything, just throw some pictures up there and make people believe whatever you want.
That's right.
But as I've been noticing over the past several months, they have come at me on a very, very personal level. They've even gone as far as infiltrating my 13-year-old daughter's Facebook page and creating a fake account, and then, sending her absolutely horrendous pornographic pictures in
Ouch.
her inbox.
You don't want to probably use Facebook. CIA data mining operation.
Yeah.
That is connected to the underground Arc City in Denver. They're running real-world simulations in there. They're data gathering in order to provide data for the artificial intelligence running that series of simulations. And you don't really want to use that medium.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been doing that for a long time from what I hear.
Yeah, what you do is you create a fake account, put a little bit of fake information in there, and don't use it. And then whenever they gather the information, it'll play with them just a little bit. You won't be such an easy target.
Yeah,
they're making progress and waking people up. They're going to attack you. That's the way that it works.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, they literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is the same group. And I have a friend of mine who he's an ex-military. He was in the military for over 20 years. He worked in intelligence, and he's a pretty crafty guy, very, very intelligent. And he started helping me out finding these individuals, because when the situation happened with my daughter, well, I was out for blood. That was just pushing it over the line to involve an individual's family. You can come at me all you want. I don't care. I'm very thick-skinned, and the name calling doesn't bother me at all. But when you infiltrate my family and try to hurt a 13-year-old girl with that type of well, my daughter was quite surprised when she opened that message.
Yeah,
and then the wording in it was exactly of all of the hate emails that I was getting by just a few people. And then I had my friend try to trace these emails, and using the IP address for these emails. And he came back just a few hours later, and he point blank told me that the IP addresses that were coming up were coming from a government server, and that he couldn't go any further. He said that they have specific, I guess, a specific IP address that's reserved for, I guess, the government. And he said it'd be very highly unlikely if they would have any access to this. So this entire group of these individuals, all of the emails that they were sending me were all coming from a host of those private servers.
And then probably some of them were artificial intelligence initiated. In other words, it's a think tank run by AI. It's probably not even real people. Maybe just a few of the real people. But I think we need to get back a little more towards waking people up about what's happening. The thing is, you have to measure your steps and do things accordingly. You don't want to even bring. What do you know about my family? I've been on YouTube now for a long time. You don't know anything.
Exactly.
So you kind of keep that stuff off. There's no pictures of me on the internet. That's why I don't even have a camera on my. You have to share the desktop. That's the way it is, because people are going to make funny cartoons out of you and put your head on it, and it just gives them fuel.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. They even went ahead and pulled up my driver's license, record, my address. Then they showed
way too much about it already. Yeah. So
they showed a Google map of my house. Well, I had changed the address on my driver's license back to my old address when I was 16 years old, before I opened up this YouTube channel.
Right.
So basically what they were showing in their video was a burned out shack from 1986.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to be in this business, then haters are part of the game, and they're actually measure success. So you keep on sharing your story. Try to keep your eyes on the the topic of discussion, on the research and waking people up. And the more attention you give the trolls, you know what happens when you feed a troll, it gets bigger.
Yeah.
You don't feed the trolls. You focus on the science, and you continue walking using measured steps in this direction to try to help as many people as possible as you can. So the people that are going to be moved more by the way you are walking rather than the attacking, you know, and everything else that's happened to you. They can hear it in your voice if you're sincere, and they hear it in your evidence and your testimony if you're smart, if you're drawing the right conclusions, or if you're off base or whatever. So I think they're going to be moved more by the quality of your presentations and the quality of your guests, like you having me on here, and by the information that we're sharing, rather than, I mean, Cosmophobia, is that the name of it? The SETI guy, they got a big thingy on me over there too. If you've done anything in this movement that's worth anything, you're gonna be on there. That's just the way that it is. But they expose my Bible work and my 9/11 work and stuff like that. I'm like, great, you know. There's some bad stuff in there. You know, they're gonna make claims about me that aren't true, but that's okay, because likely some people reading their disinformation were able to be exposed to my scripture work and to my website. So I think it's a measure of success, and we just kind of, it's like Christ, you know, he was beaten and cursed and mocked and everything. He just kept on doing his thing. So I think there's something to that.
Yeah, that's definitely, that's where I've been. You know, I mean, I've been, you know, run through the gambit of the abuse. And like I said, it doesn't bother me. I mean, from time to time, I do get some complaints from subscribers that, you know, these people are going through the back door through Google and Google Plus, and they're literally harassing and stalking subscribers. But, you know, I've got it down to basically, listen, when you see these comments in the comment section, if you have a few minutes, just attack them back. Don't pay any attention to it. Just look at the information, just like you stated. Look at the information. A good idea
is not to engage them at all. Feeding the trolls makes them bigger. And even right now in this presentation, we're focusing on personalities rather than the topic. The key is going to be to stay on the topic 100% of the time.
Yep.
If you're on the topic, you're not bringing them up, you're not bringing up anything personally, and you're waking people up. So here's what I want to share with you. I want to change the topic.
Yep, absolutely.
This is from the Dakota report that was sent to me by Jim Marrs in 2012 after our October 17th, 2011 interview. I was in 2011, just after Ellen passed through. Then he began. Jim Marrs gets 60 radio interview requests per month. He turns almost all of them down. And I interviewed him twice. He interviewed me once, and the one time is whenever the Rents Network, the Rents Radio Network, they finally got Jim Marrs to do a radio show there for a while, and they asked him, well, out of everybody in the world, who are you going to have on first on your first show? Because they finally got him signed up, you know. And he says, I want to have this researcher named TERRAL on. If you go down to you just Google Rents, because he was exposed to a lot of my work during that period. I had him on. We talked a lot about 9/11 at the time, and so he said that my 9/11 book was the best that he had ever seen. Dick Eastman said the same exact thing, that it's the best information. There's a 100-point event timeline in chapter 11, if you don't read the whole book, that places the top 100 events in chronological order, some separated by only 100th of a second. So being a meticulous timekeeper has been a good servant for me through these projects. But anyway, this is the Dakota report that he sent me in the 2016 Dropbox folder. Then there's a 7-page analysis that I give for him that you guys can read. Then this is the operations section of the Dakota report. And this is what it says at the top. It says, in this report, the terms KGB 21 and government will be used interchangeably. The purpose of this report, and it's talking about the whole report here, the purpose of this report is to prevent the execution of Project Black Star. Operations listed here are considered necessary for its execution. Project Black Star culminates in the termination of a large percentage of the population. So it wasn't until reading, and it goes on, this whole operations section is about Project Black Star. But our object was a heavy mass object until reading this report and doing this for work versus this paper for Jim Marrs. And at the time, nobody else could get a copy of this. And as far as I know, the only 2 places where you can get a copy of this report is in the description, is in the CIT boys, that's where this link is, Citizen Investigation Team, which they put it up to discredit it. And in the Dropbox folder that I provide for newsletter subscribers, there's a lot of documentation in my newsletter, in my Dropbox folder for subscribers that you're not going to be able to get. NSA covert operations information, the way that they've been used nanotechnology in human bodies since the 1970s, and lots of email back and forth in that Dropbox folder about people that have been murdered, people in my group. My chief astronomer was murdered in my group, members of my family. And you want to talk about being attacked, then TERRAL's research group had over 350 members, 65 administrators. We were connected to the Carnicom Institute with Morgellons research and studying, putting together a really gifted group of people. That's the reason that artificial intelligence attacked us. That's the reason that we came under attack and had to dissolve the group. And that's the reason you see me making a lot of times only one video per week and doing one radio show per week and keeping the program kind of small, deliberately, because when we get ahead of the elite pace, our people come under attack. And won't go a whole lot into that. The more you know, the more of a threat you may become to artificial intelligence. But he's running threat assessment contingency planning. He's my counterpart. But he's working for the House of Rothschild. Now I'm over here working for the good guys. He's over there working for the bad guys. And our programs are actually used by artificial intelligence to desensitize the sheeple. My program is being used by him. Not deliberately. I don't want it to be that way. But right along with the other 1,000 opinions that are out there, mine's just one of them. And I've only got a little over 10,000 subscribers after 3 years, so I'm not making any big impact. As long as I'm treading this way, then I think I'm safe of anything like that happening. If everything exploded all of a sudden and I became really famous, you know, and all that notoriety, then you might be hearing about me having a massive heart attack suddenly out of nowhere, because that's pretty much how he kills people. Whenever you become a threat. So just wanted to share this with you, and then let's try to use the remainder of our time and let's be on a topic.
Yeah,
and try not to be on the personalities. We just open ourselves up to criticism and make ourselves targets that way. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to, I've been keeping track of the earthquake activity. Oh my goodness, for quite some time now, and that's been something that's been worrying me, tremendously. I know a lot of people pretty much all around the world. I spent 22 years in international advertising and marketing, so I've been everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of friends, out on the West Coast, and I've been warning them for almost a year now that eventually, we're going to come to a boiling point. And with the frequency of these earthquakes the last half of this year, I'm worried about it. I'm worried for them on the West Coast because, even though they say, okay, California is due for the big one.
They are, yeah.
Is it just going to be this old geological episode, or is this going to be something that is, extraterrestrial, something that is in the cosmos? And that's my belief. After everything that I've researched over the years, this is not just going to be your regular California earthquake. This is going to be something that will be completely 100% life-changing. And I know that you do a lot with your research, with the earthquake. So if you want to touch on that, I'd love to hear it.
Sure. You can have a good overview, and some of your listeners or viewers may have to listen to this part twice. It's a little bit complicated, but here we go. This is volume 28 of my newsletter. There's, just as usual, new volcanic activity. We monitor everything with the earth changes. And then this particular story came out on July the 5th, 2016. Massive lava lamp blobs deep inside Earth have scientists puzzled. Whenever I see mystery, scientists in the same word with puzzled, mystery, anything, it really grabs my attention because the scientists are having trouble explaining what's going on here. We know what's going on here. What you're looking at is a deep magma plume formation that has been created by all of this earthquake activity taking place between 410 and 660 kilometers deep inside of our Earth. This is by sudden expansion of the glassy type material that's in the transition zone itself. So on top of this transition zone, you have rock, magma. Underneath this transition zone, beyond 660 kilometers, you have metal. This is the transition zone that is more like glass, something that's in between in the transition. Okay, so when you get these powerful earthquakes, it goes boom. Imagine a whole gabillion of Fukushima, of Hiroshima bombs going off down in that transition zone. It causes sudden expansion. Sudden expansion of the material means it's decompressing. Decompression means that it's going to rise to the surface like an air bubble. And as it's trying to rise, it's being contained by these buoyancy barriers. So you have all this information is in this volume 28. If you want more information on that, this corridor is being created by the buoyancy barriers itself, trying to contain it by the surround. So here's the deal. Let me pull up, just get a kind of, you're only looking at one little section here, but I'm going to pull up the Earthquake 3D and take some of this off and show you what's happening here. Okay, what you have, the origination zone, let's just imagine we're looking at a horseshoe. A horseshoe that's moving, that's going just like this. The open end is right here between Mexico and Alaska. That's the open end. The terminating ends of this horseshoe are in Alaska position, right here, and the Mexico position, right here. We know that because of the new volcanic eruption events. We know when they're going to happen. They're going to begin with the Earth change uptick period over here in Indonesia. They're going to spread north through the Philippines, Japan, Kamchatka, Aleutians, and they're going to try to reach Alaska by the end of the Earth change uptick period. Same thing over here. The southern magma wave. This is a magma wave contained within that buoyancy, those buoyancy barriers. This is a magma wave. There's two of them. This one's pushing around to the south. This one's pushing around from the north, both coming from the origination zone right here, the center of the horseshoe. So what we have is this magma plume formation. This is what I showed you right over here. This magma plume formation deep inside of the Earth. Whenever we're getting to the end of the Earth change uptick period, which ended on this cycle on November the 14th with the backside massive magma plume formation has become a gigantic reservoir. It's a storehouse, a singular unit, a storehouse gathering all the information from these deep earthquakes. And when I say a deep earthquake, see that one at 595? That's in the transition zone, deep in Earth mantle. We have one over here at 610 kilometers. If I put it on for the last few weeks, you would see one down here too. And let me see if there's any for the last week. You see all these deep ones? This, even though they're not that big, these earthquakes are adding energy to the magma, the entire magma plume formation, as the pressures are equalizing inside of it. Well, that's important to realize, that part. I want to take some of that away so I can show you. So recently we had a gigantic rash during the lull period. After November the 14th, we had a rash of activity right here. The reason is because when we get, let's get to the solar system here for a second. And let's go to the actual time so I can back that up a month. We're behind the sun relative to the black star on the 14th, right here. The moon's right behind us, is full. There's Libra, the sun, the Earth. This is when the backside alignment New Zealand 7.8 happened. But then Earth starts going this way. The black star is going this way. The magnetic portal connection is getting longer. Earth core is cooling. That's the thing that you have to realize. Then we get back over here. That means that the pressures reach their maximum on November the 14th to begin relaxing. These buoyancy barriers were stretched. They began to compress. They begin to pull this back in, kind of like a balloon. Whenever you deflate it, the way the balloon collapses around, it presses against the air to force it out. Well, the most pressure is at the terminal ends. That's where all this pressure originated, pushed up that way, around this way and pushed up that way. Well, whenever that, after the lull period starts, this wave starts coming back towards the origination zone. This other wave starts coming back to the origination zone, and they converge right here. That creates all this seismic activity. But then the two waves rebound against one another within the buoyancy barriers, and then the wave starts moving back up towards the terminal end again. So we had an eruption in Mount Cleveland 3 weeks in a row when the terminal, reaching the uptick period. Then we wait for this wave to come back and come forward again. Then we have the next chain, the next volcano in the chain towards Alaska pop off suddenly. Only once, because that's when the wave came up and pushed the pressure relief mechanism, was the volcano there. Same thing over here. The terminal N is Mexico. We know it's Mexico because we saw during the uptick period, these new volcanic eruption events keep pushing north until they reached Mexico. Then they stopped. Then after the low period, the wave comes back down and we get one more boost for a singular new volcanic eruption event in Mexico. So there's a lot of data supporting what I'm telling you right here. Now, these waves have been reverberating back and forth on each other. The energy is being reduced. So you're seeing a slowdown in seismic activity, even though it looks pretty active still. It's because of these corridors and what's going on 410 to 600 kilometers deep. So let's look at this 7.7 chili quake right here. Something that I wanted to show you, if possible, is that this 7.7 quake had no precursor quakes. There's impossible for a 7.7 earthquake to have no precursor quakes if it started by a slip fault. If it's because of the fault slipping, because it's going to begin slipping and we're going to get 4, 5s, and 6s even before the actual event. None of that happened. The reason that that quake event happened is because of that wave passing back and forth. And I'll show you what causes it. If I can get to the right window here. Here, no. Let me reduce this. Let me reduce this right here. The thing to realize is that on these magma plume formations, you have a series of horns. These are areas where the rising magma is pushing up, up, up very rapidly. And it causes the magma on top that's thicker to actually be displaced, be pushed. That's what caused this chili quake, as this gigantic magma wave was reverberating to its terminal end and coming back through. Whenever you're in the lull period, these horns collapse because the internal pressure is reduced. So this horn formation is going to sink way down, and then here comes the wave that comes by, and then the whole thing pressurizes. That causes this horn formation to push up rapidly. Boom. That's what caused the 7.7 earthquake. Right here was a horn on this magma plume formation that pushed up from the reverberating magma wave. See, this is the kind of science that you're not going to hear anywhere else. They don't understand magma plume formations or the horn formations or the fact that Earth core is being heated up by black star near proximity. So the black star is siphoning electromagnetism from the sun and redirecting it us based upon how, if we're moving towards the black star or if we're moving away from the black star. Right now we're moving away from the black star. Libra, the black star is right here. It's going this way. We're going this way. We're going away from it until we get to the middle of February. And when we start heading towards it this way, the magnetic portal connection starts shortening, and you're going to see big giant. You're going to see this magma plume formation expand again, and you're going to see the whole new cycle. And at the end of April, everybody's going to be talking about earthquakes, new volcanic eruptions. Everybody is going to be talking about it. In February, the middle of February, nobody's going to be talking about it because we're going to have the minimum amount of activity because of Earth's position as we're moving naturally around the sun. And as we're going around, this magnetic portal connection between the black star and the Earth is getting longer and then shorter, longer and then shorter, longer and then shorter. It's creating two well-defined Earth change uptick periods and two well-defined lull periods that we've been tracking for the last 6 years. And whenever you stop the orbit diagram on these key dates, Fukushima, Chile, Guerrero, it shows that the black star is moving in prograde fashion in this direction through our solar system, and it's been moving an average of 12 degrees per year, which is impossible for an object on elliptical orbit unless it's slowing down inbound orbital velocity. And it has to be slowing down inbound orbital velocity in direct proportion to how close it's getting to the sun. That couldn't be explained until I ran across the paper from the Canadian student that let me see if I can pull this up for you. He found that there was a braking mechanism between binary stars, according to his observations. Right here. So check out this little story what we have here online here. Should be the longer story. At the very bottom, the stars are close enough that their magnetospheres are likely to be interacting during the whole of their orbit. around each other. This means that their magnetic fields may even act as a giant brake, slowing down the stars. That's because of the mismatched polarity. That's what's happening with the black star and the Earth. And it causes their elliptical orbit to become circular whenever they're going around one another. So it's quite a bit to try to take in. You may need to watch this presentation twice. And we didn't just come up with this in a day. This is a 6-year, now going into the 7th year of this investigation. So this is helium focus and cone information I was going to share with you about. We haven't talked about that, have we?
No, that the whole helium thing came out yesterday. I know, several people reported on it.
Yeah, so if you want to, then we can get into a little bit of that. But this is some of the mechanics, some of the science that we're using with Project BLACKSTAR. And it's been helping us build predictive models that tell us precisely what's going to happen. This aftershock activity from the magma plume formations is making it look like we're still in an uptick period when we're actually in a lull. So I wanted to kind of explain that. It took a while. It took years of fumbling around in the dark to be able to finally figure out that we're dealing with magnetic repulsion between the stars, magnetic pole connections with the stars, and this internal magma plume formation. That's what's changing the resonance frequency of our planet, because these waves reverberating are adding waves to the total signature of our planet. And it's not just Earth. It's happening to Jupiter. Jupiter's core is liquefying. Saturn's complexion has changed from its superstorms. The last superstorm it had was 30 years ago when it passed between the black star and the Earth. I'm sorry, the black star and the sun. It just had the recent superstorm in 2010. Just over 30 years later, because that's how long it takes for Saturn to go around the solar system. It's having these storm activities when it passes between the sun and the black star, and it's going to have to do something to do with the magnetic portal connection convergence deal that I was telling you guys about. So the Project BLACKSTAR investigation explains the Martian dust storms. It explains Venus's slowing retrograde rotation, for example. It explains why Venus is strange and has its reverse rotation, because it's not moving in prograde fashion in its rotation like all the other planets, because it's been messed with by the black star. Because the black star reaches perihelion right near Venus' orbit path, which means Venus is in the wrong place at the wrong time a high percentage of the time. And it will likely be messed with again on this orbit cycle. The black star is much too dense. 1 tablespoon of black star matter would equal 2 Ghazi pyramids. It's much too dense to be altered course. The Earth is like a cotton ball compared to a bowling ball, or to a lead ball even, compared to the black star. Nothing is going to change its orbit path, even a little bit. It is in a whole different league, even for stars. The sun has a gravity well that's U-shaped, like the Earth, like the moons, like every other asteroid, comet, but the black stars, it very much resembles that of a black hole, appearing to, instead of having a singularity at the bottom, it's just going to have a really small mass that's down there. That's the difference. Go ahead.
I don't want to exactly like put you on the spot, but in the very near future, you know, maybe over the next 90 days, maybe the next 120 days, or whenever we actually make this connection, this portal connection, what do you foresee for the west coast of the United States, leading all the way down through Mexico and the west coast of South America? Okay.
I can tell you what's going to happen, but I cannot tell you when. I know it's going to be near the peak of the Earth change uptick period. It's going to happen. If it happened this year, it would be at the end of April, early May. On the backside, it would happen near on 2017, around December the 1st, if it's going to happen. Here's the reason why. I can't tell you when, because each new Earth change uptick period, this formation, this magma plume formation, repressurizes and its terminal end lengthens. Eventually, these 2 terminal ends are going to meet right in here in this dead zone in the middle.
Oh my God.
Whenever you look at these earthquake events, look at the depths you're looking at. Let me see, you got kilometers here. See these 600-kilometer earthquakes that I just showed you over here?
Yeah.
They jumped over into South America. The backside alignment quake event last year was the pair of Peruvian quakes more than 600 kilometers deep under Peru last year, because the magma plume activity has extended that far. It's already extended further north. So these deep earthquake activities, the like this one right here. This is going to continue moving north through the uptick periods. They originated here. The record deep earthquake for today, for now, is Japan, May of 2015 or 16. It was after Nepal, 2015. 677 kilometers right here. This magma plume formation is pushed this way. The terminal end is here. But look, now look at the depth of all these earthquakes at these swarm areas. Look at the depth. But look at the depth of California. Look how they're almost flat. This right here, if Indonesia is the origination zone where this stuff starts, the convergence zone is right here. Eventually, what's going to happen is this deep activity is going to push through Cascadia that's been locked. Cascadia is where the linchpin event is going to take place. It's going to be caused by the rising magma plume activity in one of these horns. It's going to push up and unlock this baby right here. That could unleash a 10 magnitude earthquake whenever this happens right here. That could affect everybody living on the Pacific Ocean. Then you have the southern wave that's pushed up Mexico. At the end of the coming earth change uptick period, it is going to push further north. It's going to push further north. It's eventually going to reach up into the United States. And eventually on one of these cycles, it could be in this coming earth change uptick period that these two terminal ends meet. And when that happens, this magma wave is going to break through the buoyancy barrier. This is going to break through the buoyancy barrier, and it's going to converge right here. Now, here's the thing to realize. The crust, these plates are pushed up against the North American craton right here. The crust out here at the edge in California is only 60 kilometers deep. The crust here, the North American craton formation, is from 250 to about 220 kilometers at its bottom foot down here in Oklahoma. The Oklahoma quake swarm area right there is positioned in the center of the foot formation of the North American craton. Now, when this investigation started in 2011, all we had was a Baja California quake swarm area down here. That's all we had. We didn't have all this other stuff. Since Solomon Island, February 6, 2013, over here, this broke the tectonic plate in two, creating extra space in the entire Pacific Ocean ring of fire tectonic dynamic in the matrix, in the network. What that caused was a cascade. These tectonic plates are cascading into that empty space. Very slow motion. But what that did was that created a new line of earthquakes from Texas right here up pointing through Seattle. This has even migrated north since I looked last, pointing through Seattle and pointing at Cascadia right here. This line of earthquakes was not there before. This is being caused by the cascade of these tectonic plates moving in this direction, and we're seeing signs of shearing. Shearing, not slipping faults pushing together, but actual cracks in the ground that are opening up all the way from this region, all the way through Central America, and all the way into South America, because all these plates are trying to fill in that void that was created over there. Now, what that does is that exposes Earth, the orbiting satellites that are watching Earth magnetism. It exposes those satellites to new magma that it can see magnetically through these opening fault lines. So what you're going to do is you're going to Google the report. Here's a little bit of data for you right here that I think is real important. Russian Grim Report. Russian Grim Report 2014, right here. Notice the date when this baby comes out, 2014, and June the 3rd. See, this is after Solomon Island, after the shearing that I'm telling you about, after the new line of earthquakes. And also, whenever you look at the chart for the Oklahoma earthquakes, the 3 magnitude and greater, they go parabolic after 2013, after Solomon Island. This is a global thing. Seismic pressures from the Pacific Ocean are pushing through Americas, and they're pushing into the Atlantic Ocean. It's just a matter of how they're going to push through according to this buoyancy barrier thingy that's going on with these deep magma plume activities. But when you read this report, Russia issues Grim Report or North America, this is what's going on here, this new magnetic signature that we're being shown here, and this is because of the scenario that I just described to you that's going on right here, the opening up of this stuff. So this is what's going to happen. Earth core is going to heat through one of these earth change uptick periods, and the terminal ends are going to meet. They're going to meet right here. And whenever they do, this activity is caused by a passing wave. This activity is being caused by a passing wave. This is nothing compared to when these waves converge right here. This is going to cause massive crustal displacement. It's going to be caused by the deep magma plume activity in these horns that are formed. As they rise up, they're going to push this mantle, they're going to push this crust that's only 60 kilometers deep. And it's going to cause massive crustal displacement depending on how the horn formations, and especially if the buoyancy barriers are broken. If the buoyancy barriers are broken, then you get the scenario that maybe some of your people haven't seen the map of the future, Navy map of the future.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times.
Yeah. Well, you see this big hole out here? This is caused by rising magma plume activity from the Earth transition zone that displaces the heavier magma that's right underneath supporting Earth crust. That stuff, as it rises, it expands, and it gets lighter and lighter and fluffy, and it's glassy like in nature. And it displaces by sheer rising like a bubble off the bottom of the ocean that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It rises up, it presses against the crust, displaces the magma, and then, so everything bulges up, and then you have an eruption, and then it collapses down. Everything collapses, and it leaves this scenario right here. And then this scenario is created when the New Madrid kicks off. You have the lava tubes that are running out to the offshore volcanoes from these calderas, and from these calderas to the New Madrid area. They're going to become pressurized. These lava tube plugs are going to be broken, and then this area is going to bulge like this area. That's going to cause a new string of activities to kick off in New Madrid. That's why they ran those exercises. This is why they ran the Jade Helm 15 exercises and the Cascadia Rising exercises. They know this is going to happen. And then liquefaction is going to cause the salt water to displace all this land. It's going to liquefy, and it's going to run down through what used to be Louisiana. The people on this side with all these nuclear power plants are going to be cut off. The people on this side of the Rocky Mountain Ridge are going to be cut off. They're going to be killed by pyroclastic flows that come out of here. The last time this volcano, supervolcano, erupted, it killed animals on the other side of the planet because it's glassy type nature that came from the transition zone, right? So our survival location is down here in the Ozarks in these caverns right here. These pyroclastic flows should go this way. We're on the stable North American craton. Nuclear power plants are downwind of us. We have a couple here. The elite are using these as power sources for their underground bunkers that are near us. We're going to do the same thing. So this is our survival strategy. This is where I lived for 2 years in 2011 and 12. I moved there, got my own cavern owner, my own strong survival group, my own place to go. Now we're building another survival group, a second group. This one is much larger, much stronger. And like I was telling you guys earlier, subscribe to my newsletters, and you're going to get a whole bunch of subscriber benefits for a whole year for just $25. And then you request your threat assessment information, and I'm going to be giving you this information again, what I'm sharing with you right now in written form, give you the maps, let you look at everything, and then request that you give me your permission. Every single person in our survival group program gave me permission to share their contact information with members of the forming survival groups. I will do that for you, and then you can begin talking with people that are awake, that know this stuff is coming, that are working together, preppers, survivalists, doctors, military people. If you have military experience, love to have you in our program to help make our security operation stronger for, you know, later in the timeline, after this happens, Mad Max threats, elite threats, all kind of threats are going to be coming later down the timeline, requiring you to have a strong military contingent to defend your position. You're going to have doctors and not lawyers. I'm not necessarily, I don't want to be mean to any lawyers, but the doctors in your health. Actually, Dr. Laura and Robert that run our the doctors in the medical contingent, they work together. They have liaisons that work between their committees. They, for example, the obstacle courses that the military builds on our staging property, everybody participates. We want to know everybody's time, put them in categories, make physical fitness very important. So, we're going to stress test you, and Dr. Laura is going to, be running that part of the op. And the military guys will be instructing all of our members to use firearms, for example, using our sharpshooter ranges and things like that. We have sharpshooter Army Rangers and instructors and all kinds of that in our survival group. It's a really great opportunity for people. Use it as an insurance policy, plan B to anything that you're thinking about. Because I think once you get the group information, you're going to have the contact information of every survival group member in the group, and you're going to be able to make contacts with people that can change your environment. You can change your opportunities. When you know that they're what they're doing, then you can match your efforts. And just especially if you're the only person in your family that realizes this is happening, then you can talking with other people helps you mentally and spiritually to be able to deal and to cope and to work more out of a strategy rather than fear. And that's one thing I see with a lot of these YouTubers is that they fearmonger, like this right here, this guy right here. This is serious energy waves for Christmas, and he's the helium focusing cone propaganda that you're seeing out there. This is just a normal formation. There's nothing to it. It's a part of the interstellar wind. Here's the abstract information about it. Heliospheric Observatory, Solar and Heliospheric Observatory. Earth enters it every year. We leave it every year. Nothing ever happens. So it's just a lot of disinformation out there. We try to lead people with good sound science and get them away from the fear mongering and give them the opportunity to prepare using logic, common sense, good planning, and eliminating fear totally out of the equation. When you start making decisions based on fear, you're going to do some stupid things. And I have a little bit of personal experience with that. Been a survivalist since 2009, way before this ever happened. That was after the H1N1 scare, if you guys remember back then. And the FEMA War Games, July. That's when I moved into this travel trailer, and I've been living in a travel trailer ever since. Now, being mobile and lived in the Ozarks, lived in North Carolina, was working with the Appalachians in the Appalachian Mountains till I realized later in the timeline that it's not safe. It's not safe over on that side. So I was plugging again my website and newsletter campaign. That's the only source, the only way that you can support the research at TERRAL3.com. And so that's a little bit of the disinformation. The galactic wave, that's a hoax to explain the changes that are going on around us. This photon belt thing is another disinformation false narrative that's out there because there are extra photons running around. They're being detected. So where are they coming from? They're coming from the black star. Okay, so what kind of story are we going to come up to explain it? Photon belt thing. So it's disinformation. So if you're when you become a newsletter subscriber, especially you go back to a lot of the volumes, you send me enough questions, watch enough of my videos, then you'll become immune to this propaganda and the fear mongering and nonsense that's taking place on the internet. Go ahead.
Yeah, it seems like they're coming out with a new story and a new excuse about once a week for their entire cover up. And I wanted to add, I'll probably be joining you, in the Ozarks because I live in southwestern Pennsylvania, not too far from south of the city of Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that over the last 10 years, all of the fracking that has been done, there must be 100,000 wells. I actually worked in the industry for 5 years, and that worries me.
Well, if you talk to Dutch Sense, he says these Oklahoma quakes are caused by fracking. He's not talking about any wells in Pennsylvania. You're not having the type of earthquakes that you're seeing out of the quakes form area in Oklahoma, because those have nothing to do with fracking. But
yeah, we did have one.
Your problem is not fracking. Your problem is nuclear power plants. You're surrounded by about a dozen nuclear power plants in your location. You're downwind of about 2 dozen.
Yeah, there's a couple of them around the area, but just looking at the naval map, you're literally living where I live. I'm going to be cut off from everything.
That's right.
The Mississippi will be like 100 miles wide?
Yep. We're 150 miles from the liquefaction zone at our cavern location in the Ozarks.
Yeah, and I've actually been thinking about this in more depth now than ever about a relocation because I don't want to, I lived in Miami for 22 years. I got stuck in Hurricane Andrew, because of my father not wanting to leave. And we lived on the intercoastal waterway. And we left at the wrong time. We left at the end. Well, actually, the beginning. But we left at the end of the evacuation. And we got stuck on Interstate I-95, sitting there for 3.5 hours. As this storm came in. And, I was a young guy, and it scared me to death. And I mean, I've been through 13 major hurricanes down there in 22 years. And I see the damage and the flooding and everything that can possibly happen. And just with a Category 5 hurricane.
Right.
So, I'm thinking, okay, well, where I live.
A geological pole shift, you'd be done. If you're anywhere between the mountain range and the coast, because the ocean waters off the coast there are 2 and 3 miles deep. Earth starts tipping over, the metals are going to, in Earth crust is going to tip the crust backwards, but the oceans are going to follow the laws of gravity. So Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. You have the opportunity for a 2-mile high wave to push up against that mountain range and then fall back into the ocean during a geological pole shift. There's no safe zone that's over in that direction. But here's the deal. If you're away from the coast and you're on the North American Craton, as long as you're within 1 tankful of our cavern location, then you will have a month in between the original geological pole shift and having to be inside the cavern environment. Because first comes the geological pole shift, the collapse of the, not total collapse, the weakening of Earth magnetosphere, the sun turning dark, comes about 2 months later. So we have a month in between, and that's part of the strategy. Right now we're getting ready to initiate a leasing program inside of a giant cavern, leasing space, and then people can relocate. You don't have to move into the cavern or even right beside the cavern. You can just relocate into a town, I'm not giving away any details at this time, but nearby. And if you make your living on the internet especially, it's very easy to do that. Whenever the geological pole shift happens, then you have a 12 by 12 or 20 by 4 by 24 square rented inside of an underground cavern position, and you already have your survival supplies there. The rest of your group meets you there. So we have a well-devised plan that we're putting together for a leasing program. Of course, you have to pay in advance to the cavern owner for the right to put your things there and to have a spot. It's like leasing a place in a stadium for an event. So then another part of our operation is actually by we have a group of now about 22 investors. So we've got plenty of resources, and we can always use more. I hope there's some investor people here that want to join our program. Go to TERRAL03.com, hit that subscribe button, man, and request your threat assessment information. I'll hook you up with the Financial Land Acquisition Committee, Tom and Rosemary. And then our plan is to acquire land we've already looked at, direct proximity to our cavern. And then so we're going to build staging area thingy there and have trailer parks. And so you can bring your travel trailer there and you can set it up there and leave it there. And we have managers that, groundkeepers that take care of everything. Or we have package deals where you can have a prefabbed house, where there's a log cabin house on the high end. Those are $120,000 something. Low end houses start at around $20,000 for the package, to put the house on there. So it's a range of opportunities for people that wake up. I hope you guys are waking up. There is something that's coming, and we've already got the survival group program together for the people in the United States. You're going to want to be in the Ozarks. We have a Texas crew down there that's working they're wanting to work by themselves. But they were with us for a little while. The Canadians, their group up near Alberta, they were working by themselves. And they realized you need a lot of people to put a group of doctors and military contingents and carpenters and masons and people that can run sawmills, run sanitation services. It takes a lot of people. It takes a community to be able to do that. But that's what we're building there in the Ozarks. And listeners have an opportunity to wake up first, and then it's just $25 to have me as your threat assessment analyst, and it's a year, and it's a great insurance policy to even if you choose not to partake and to use that insurance policy later in the timeline, at least you'll have access to the information, the survival group members, survival group leaders, and you'll be able to get more information so that you can make a good decision about your own survival strategy. Go ahead.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a good operation. You have my thumbs up. Like I said, I'll probably see you there. Yeah, because I do not want to stay, where I'm at. I mean, number one, just the civil unrest being close to any major city is going to be a danger in its own.
Mad Max.
Yeah, exactly. I say that all the time. I don't want to live in the Thunderdome.
Yeah, in the Ozarks, this is a remote location. I'm just telling you, it's a remote location. It's selected because it is a remote location. So you're going to drive in order to get there. That's just the way that it works. The secondary cavern location is in more of a town setting. So the plan is to run parallel programs for those so that you have more of a choice of what to do. But go ahead. I was going to share something, but it slipped my mind.
No, I mean, I've enjoyed the information. It's always a wealth of information when listening to you. And like I said, I stay up to date, with you. I have my notifications set, even though YouTube went in and, all of my subscribers, they basically almost deleted all of their notifications. And I had a very big following in Europe. And back in the beginning of October, I don't know, they made some changes there at YouTube. Didn't say anything to anybody. And, all of my subscribers just stopped getting notifications. And that's just something that's
welcome to the party.
Yeah, it's been running
that kind of thing. This is my third channel. It was over 12,000. When I get over about 12,000, that YouTube, Google finds some reason to close me down, and I end up starting all over again. So we'll see if it happens this time again. And people have sent me emails that they are not getting notifications too, and they don't know why, and I don't know why. But,
yeah, I get them every single day from subscribers. I get about 1,500 emails a day, and I do get there's a couple of hundred in there. I just had a gentleman today. He just sent me. He's like, please. He goes, I subscribe to your channel. I set the notification up, and then 2 days later, I'm not subscribed to your channel, and there's no notification. So I told him, I said simply, listen, don't even worry about subscribing. I sent him a direct link to my channel in his email. And I said, just save that email, use that link, go to my channel once a day, twice a day, take a look, see if you see any updates, and just try to keep yourself informed. And, it's just an uphill battle, no matter what, with Google and YouTube and their whole censorship program. I mean, earlier on in the late fall, I found going through my settings for my channel, I had it set up for science and technology. Well, I noticed a big drop off in subscribers' views, subscribership, the whole 9 yards. And I keep pretty close eye on my analytics. And I decided to go back in there and check the settings. Well, lo and behold, every single setting was placed back to default, and my channel was falling in the automotive section.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah. And I informed a few other guys that have channels to check this. I talked to Steve Olson.